Do you have what it takes to be a day trader? It's not easy, it's not for everyone, and it's about as far from Warren Buffett style investing as you can get. But my next guest has been day trading and educating day traders for decades. And if you do want to get into it or get better at it, I couldn't think of a better place to start than this week's Money Show Money Masters podcast episode. His name is Fausto Pugliese, and he's founder and president of Cyber Trading University. He's also the author of the book, How to Beat Market Makers at Their Own Game, Uncovering the Mysteries of Day Trading. Fausto, thank you so much for taking some time out to chat. I know the markets are moving and there's a lot going on as we're recording this. So why don't we just start, for people who aren't familiar with you, haven't seen you at a Money Show event in the past, give me a little bit of history, your background. I mean, you're kind of like one of the OGs here in the day trading world, right?
Yeah, Mike, thanks for having me. And it's always a pleasure talking on the Money Show. Yeah, I've been around with the Money Show since the day they really started back in the late 90s, back at the Day Traders Expos and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, listen, I'm one of the original day traders that started, one of the So's Bandits. Everybody reads any of the old books. So kind of teach more or less what's happening over the course of the day. Everybody wants to learn how to swing trade and trade options, but they don't realize a lot of it is being affected on what happens of a stock that happens right now. And, and things could change. We see a lot of big things that are happening in the markets. If it's COVID, if it's, we're seeing what's going on with the war right now or anything, to be a very good trader, you got to know what Wall Street's doing. I live here in New York, financial capital of the world.
Yep.
I've surrounded myself with some of the greatest traders, and the big things they use, what I kind of specialize on, is something that's called level 3 and level 4 quotes. I do a lot of work with NASDAQ. I've done a lot of education for them, presentations for them. And it's all about knowing how to read the book, see where the right of the chart is, not just the left of the chart.
Got it. And, it's funny when I talk to traders in sort of our repertoire, people come and speak at our events. Some are, they will still watch the headlines and what's going on in the world, and some could care less. It's really, what's happening on their screen in front of them. How do you fall down on that? I mean, how much are you watching headlines? How much do you care about that? Or is it really just what your indicators are showing and what you're seeing on your screen?
Well, the problem with indicators of us as day traders, and no offense to everybody who's indicators, it doesn't work as a day trader because things change immediately. It takes time for the indicator to kick in. It's a lagger. So as news comes out, yes, a lot of that stocks will get affected by it and they will roll into it, because us as day traders we're like the Marines. We're like the first ones that see what happens first, and then everything else will kick in a little bit later. So, depending on what the headlines are, and not talking about the typical, with the Fed rate, they raise interest rates or stuff like that happens. Talking like, anything that will be more of a catastrophe, or great opportunities. It also could be big headlines. It could be a company come out with, good, a good pharmaceutical stock or anything like that. Good, and like even on earnings, like some people are so hooked on earnings announcement, and there's something that moves every day. Yeah. So we just kind of mainly focus on the big percentage gainers, Mike, what's moving in there, and just follow that as things are moving.
Got it. So let's talk about that when it comes to, day trading in this environment. I mean, overall volatility is up somewhat this year, it seems, and you're getting a lot more of these crazy days like we had back in Liberation Day and all that stuff. How does that change the game, if so, or does it not really?
Doesn't really change the game too much. I mean, listen, the market really, everybody trades all volatility, you know what I mean? And you need volatility to make money. If you don't have volatility, you're not making anything, So it really hasn't changed the game at all. Everything has been pretty much the same. I just find that things have been a lot more volatile lately. And you got to be a little bit more, you got to be a lot more conservative, and you got to watch things a little bit closely, because whatever goes up, Mike, comes down twice as fast. And I'm seeing things coming out a lot faster. Like you just mentioned, Liberation Day. I lost a lot of money on Liberation Day, but I would probably have lost a hell of a lot more if I wasn't a day trader on it. But I made a lot of money when it hit the bottom, because that's the other thing people do. They're always trying to catch the bottom, even like with COVID. Everybody's trying to catch the bottom. Everyone lost a lot of money in COVID. And there are people that just stepped in and made a killing. But then they found out the hard way is, you got to know how to lose before you can win.
I'm glad you brought up kind of the mentality, because, obviously you work on training day traders, people who want to get started in the business, and you work with those who have probably been in it for a long time. What kind of mentality do you have to have, and what's important as a day trader to know and to do in this kind of environment?
Well, number one, I'm glad you brought that up. First of all, you got to find someone that you have to sample a bunch of different types of programs that are your style. I mean, like you could day trade options, you could day trade stocks, there's a lot of cryptocurrency, and day trading, just let everybody know what that word means. Day trading means you're in and out the same day. Okay. So when everyone brings that up, you want to confuse it. There's swing trading, which is when you hold positions more than overnight. And we do that also. But to be a good swing trader or an investor, you got to understand how to day trade first, because they turn into swing trades. So it's just basically the mentality is surround yourself find somebody that built like your style, and you should try a bunch of different people. Like the Money Show does a great job of bringing a lot of different types of great presenters. Listen to something that is your style. If you adapt to it, learn from that person. Make sure you get some coaching with them. Make sure you surround yourself with traders that learn that type of a program, because the mentor can't always be there at your beck and call. And that's how I've learned, like I've worked here on Wall Street. I was a market maker, and, I know my mentors, but they weren't always there for me. Once you're in there, you're part of the company, you work in there, you surround yourself with several traders. You learn from the people who suck at it, and you learn the people that are good at it. You know what I mean? And that's how you survive in this business.
It's funny you bring that up because, when we were talking off camera earlier, you're talking about these trading contests, and it's like, or when you do live trading, not everything's going to work. I mean, trading is not 100, you're not going to hit 100% of your trades. Do you feel like people sometimes learn more from their mistakes than they do from their wins?
Losing, I always tell everybody this, Mike, losing is actually a good thing. And people's like, how's that a good thing? I'm like, because if you know why you lost, you're not going to make that mistake again. You're going to lose in trade. It's part of the game. It's like saying, you marry and be like, oh, we don't have a fight. I'm like, come on. It's having an argument with your spouse only strengthens a relationship, because you need to know how to, fix it and get better, because obviously there's going to be disagreement. Trading is the same thing. You're going to lose, and you just got to know how to lose properly. Like you just mentioned, I've done a lot of traders expos. I've done a lot of traders challenges. I beat everyone I competed. And some of the best things I like to do when I do the traders challenges, I like to show people that I do lose money. Yeah. And I like to go back to them and like, you see what happens if I didn't lose money on that trade? Look where I'd be today, right now. And would I want to take the loss this big? And sometimes, I have a choice, and you come back. Maybe you'll come back tomorrow, next day, and you're like, oh my God, like all of a sudden the thing is like destroyed. I mean, like I could go down the list of so many stocks that are like that, and some people, that's how you got to learn, but you got to all start learning on how it starts by a day trade.
Yeah. The community-based aspect of trading, I mean, these days, again, it seems like it's so much easier to find trading rooms, mentors, Discord groups, all this kind of stuff. But how do you separate sort of the people who know what they're doing and getting involved with people who really probably don't belong out there?
Okay, so there are gurus and they're influencers. I always tell everybody, and they're influencers that are just phenomenal. I can't even compete with them. I mean, you'll see people that have million followers. They're just very good at it. The way you really find someone that you could kind of trust, a couple of things you go by. Number one, check their Google reviews, okay? Because you can't really rely on Google, It's very hard to get fake reviews, number one. Number two, check out the Better Business Bureau. See what any complaints they have. Most importantly, also check what brokerage firms endorse them. Because like for us, I've done presentations, and like I've done presentations for Schwab, TD Ameritrade, all of them. They do background checks on me. You know what I mean? Like they want to make sure, like, okay, let me see this guy filing any bankruptcy, whatever. Like, why do you want to do background checks? Well, we want to make sure if we're going to do a presentation in front of our audience that you obviously have a reputation. Those are things that you want to look at for some of the people out there. So, I mean, just don't look at the person, and also stay away from people that show fancy cars. You know what I mean? Like, like, oh, look, this guy's driving a Ferrari, flashing cash. I mean, it's beautiful. It's sexy. It's great, Mike, but that doesn't make you money. Listen, some people hit lotto, they got lucky at it, and they want to show you how they did it. It's not going to work for everyone.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. You wrote the book, How to Beat Market Makers at Their Own Game, back in 2014, which, in some ways seems like it was a century ago, and the speed of technological change in markets these days. But there's still really a lot of great information that still applies despite some of those changes, right?
Well, I'm sorry, I missed that again. What'd you say?
Yeah, sure. You wrote the book, How to Beat Market Makers at Their Own Game, back in 2014. And, that seems like in this day and age when things change so fast, it seems like forever ago. I'm just curious, how have things changed, or have they not? Is there a lot of things that you said back then that you think really still apply in this market?
Yeah, I mean, my book is probably about still 70, 80% accurate. The only thing that has kind of changed is level 2 quotes have changed a little bit more. Before, you were able to see a lot of the brokerage firms are out there buying and selling. Now they don't really show their orders. They'll hide behind ECN. So that kind of changed. They used to do some what we call market maker traps, where they kind of use reverse psychology. Now they do things different with consolidation we cover. Now, what has not changed? Listen, level 3 and level 4, like NASDAQ total view, level 4 quotes, where you get to see the exchange orders out there. That technology, Mike's been around for 50 years. So nothing really has changed. It's like people are finding out more about, oh, AI, this is amazing, the ChatGPT. AI has been around for 50 years. It's just now just starting to get better at it, and people starting to use it. And now they're, listen, we've talked about Terminator forever. So it's been around, war games. I mean, that's basically AI. So really, nothing really has changed. Finding stocks, nothing has changed. Like people ask me, how do you find a stock like, that's moving today? And the big, we just work off the big percentage gainers. That's how you find volatility. Nothing really has changed. The things that might have changed a little bit is, okay, what does the spread look like? What's the vol? Is it, can you get in and out of it? Could you get out of it? Like, these are like 50% of the failure rates of the change. But following market makers, how to beat market makers, their own game. I was a market maker. You could still play the game, and that book still is, still pretty accurate till today.
Yeah, war games. Now I'm going to be thinking about the old, put the phone down on the modem and hear that dial tone and everything too. Taking me back. So in this environment, then again, you're talking to traders in your room, things like that. You're trying to offer some perspective and guidance. What are a couple of the top things you're sharing with them right now?
As in what top?
Yeah, like if you're looking to, again, if you're sitting in front of your screen, you're saying these are the kinds of things I'm looking at. What are you telling them? This is what I think helps me identify positive trades. These are some things you have to watch out for. I'm just kind of curious about methodology there.
Okay, so obviously, like, first of all, like 50% of the failure rate, Mike, is just making sure the stock is tradable. And what we mean by that is, like, does it have a good spread? Okay, because some people look at a stock and all of a sudden they'll see, they don't realize that the bid and offer is pretty big, and don't realize when they buy something that there's not those shares that are even out there to buy. Maybe you think you want to buy 1,000, but there's only maybe 100. That's some of the things we look at. So tradable and non-tradable. Trend. So it's really, our main goal is what we teach is it's called the 3 T's: tradable, trend, and trap. So I want to make sure a stock is tradable. Second thing we look at, we want to see what the trend is, see if there's good volatility. Is the stock moving? Is it, if it's stocks in the gainers, it still continue to push up, because it's never too late to trade, and it's never too late to short. And the third would be the trap. And that would be like, okay, well, where are the orders at? Because everyone is always looking to take a profit. So the problem is everyone's keep focused on these indicators, but don't realize that they're always lagging. Okay. And by the time those indicators kick in, it's usually too late. Especially, it does not work for day trading. So I will go against anyone and I'll prove it to them. Because listen, you look at a 5-minute chart, you're 5 minutes behind. Look at a 15-minute chart, you're 15 minutes behind. So mainly look at the orders. So we focus on the right of the chart, where we'll see those big iceberg orders, what we call. We'll see those 200, 300,000 million share orders. Like, there are orders right now, like on NVIDIA right now, there's a 3 million share order sitting out there at 150. People are like, how do you see that? They're like, well, that's the difference between a market maker, what we see, and what you don't see. So those are really the 3 biggest things that we teach when it comes into, and to understand the concept of trading. And it's amazing, Mike, when people come in there, like if you gave me 30 minutes in one of my webinars, and they come to my presentation done at the Money Show, they come out there and it's like they totally see a totally different way of looking at the markets that they didn't see, but they knew it existed. They just never really saw it.
Got it. Anything, I guess, last minute tips, or somebody wants to be a frequent trader, make the transition from long-term investor to short-term trader, day trader, whatever. Any things that you really tell them first, hey, if you want to do this, this is what you need to know?
Well, first of all, don't lose what you do. Don't trade what you can't afford to lose. Okay. That's the first thing. I mean, secondly, try to have fun. I mean, this is a game. You just got to know how to play the game. Listen to a couple of different mentors, people that are very good at education, look at their reputation and so on. don't listen. You can't look at, Warren Buffett and like, oh, I want to hear Warren Buffett speak. It's going to make me a great trader. You can't look at it that way. He's not going to work with you. He's not going to train. He's not going to take you under his wing. Okay. You got to find someone that is going to mentor you, be part of it. You want to find a very good group of traders that are part of that team that you can learn from. What you don't want to do is sit at home by yourself, watch YouTube channels all day long, try to figure it on your own, try to figure out how to set the layout on your own. It doesn't really work. This is a great job. I always tell everyone, if you look at some of the top 100 richest people in the world, okay, it's not when you always think of that Elon Musk, and everyone. The top 100 traders are in finance, and there's a reason why they're in finance. So it's a very, very lucrative business. It's a great business to be in, especially if you're looking to retire and you need to make supplemental income, which most people that we kind of train that are looking to do. You're not trying to be that next millionaire. You don't need, nice, but you can't look at it that way. Just learn how to just survive, make your days pay, make this as a part-time job, trade at the most volatile times, be the first hour, last hour, depending on where you are, and just be patient, and just analyze your trades, and don't be afraid to lose and learn from those losses. And then, you know what? It'll pay for itself down the road.
Yeah. Well, Fausto, I'm excited that you're going to be joining us for the Money Show Toronto. If you're watching this, guys, it's September 12th to 13th up there. Obviously, a day later when in the markets for a day trader can be an eternity. That's all the way in September. Any thoughts on what you're going to be talking about there, or what, when you're there live speaking, what kind of information you're going to be sharing?
Well, one of the great things I like to talk about the Money Show is, which a lot of people have never seen, is I'll talk about level 3 and level 4 quotes. Everyone's familiar with level 1, level 2, where you see the bids and offers. I'm going to show you where everyone is so focused on the left of the chart, where you see what's happening. I'm going to teach you the right of the chart. So I'll be doing live trading. I'll be putting my money where my mouth is. You'll see live trades that are going off. I'll explain it. Okay. It's not about making money. It's not about losing money. It's about you seeing and me working with you and you telling me how you would react on that trade. And then I will be doing a follow-up workshop the following day. So you guys can come back and I'll show you where to get the data. I'll get into more detail and train you a little bit more about it. So do some of that live trading in the market when the market's running. And then the next day we'll go out there and put it to the test and explain to you where you could take it home and practice it with your own trades.
Fausto, really, thank you so much for joining me and for sharing your insights. Viewers, if you're watching this, again, you're going to be able to catch Fausto doing live trading and a workshop at our Money Show Toronto event. It's coming up September 12th to 13th at the Metro Toronto Convention Center. You can find details in the description below. Hope to see you there. Fausto, thanks as well for joining me.
Thanks for having me.